Welcome to the Independent Solutions Wealth Management Election Update Call. My name is Drew Miller, Head of Advisory Consulting, and today we are joined by Glenn Wiggle and Mike Lomas. Guys, welcome. So, as the saying goes, we've all heard it before about last night. And with a decisive victory, President Trump was reelected. The Republicans regained the majority in the Senate, with the possibility still hanging out there of a majority in the House, but that's obviously still too close to call, as they say. So I know most of us in the firm thought that this decision was going to take a little bit longer to come down. So what are your initial thoughts about the outcome? And what do the next several weeks and months look like as we start to transition back to a Trump White House?
Common sense won last night, Drew. Common sense outperformed communism. And, the Democrats tried to do their best to say, well, that's not us. That's not us. But I think a lot of people remember, it was you during COVID. You were the ones forcing people out of hospitals because they didn't get vaccinated. You were the ones shutting down restaurants. You were the ones destroying gyms. And I think, it's coming back to the stock market itself. As we're doing this, stock markets are up quite a bit, right? Dow's up like 1,300 points today. What is the market telling us? And the market was telling us, by the way, last night that Trump was going to win. As the election results started to slowly pour in, you started to see the futures markets go up, the Dow up 50, then 100, then 200, then 300, right? And of course, Vegas, which always seems to pretty much get stuff right, the odds started to get better and better and better that Trump was going to win, right? Well, why is that? Well, you had two options on the ticket last night. You had more government intervention, higher taxes, more regulations, and you had somebody saying, look, I'm going to fight for lower taxes, less regulations. I'm going to drill for oil to get fuel prices down. I mean, oil is the bedrock of everything, right? If I can deliver my widgets at half the cost of 6 months from now that I was 2 years ago, that's all profits, right? And the stock market's always going to go back to profits. I would just say this from an investment standpoint. I wouldn't get too overzealous about, oh, wow, Trump's in office. I got a few emails this morning from clients like, oh, Trump's in office, everything's going to be great. It's not how it rolls. And meaning that, number one, and we did a whole podcast about this morning, the Republicans actually have to get stuff done, right? It's one thing to say lower taxes, less regulations, right? I'm going to put your a tax return on a postcard. You actually have to do that stuff, right? You can't just say it. You got to do it. And then we always never know what we have. I'll take you back to Clinton. Clinton he wasn't the communist that we see today in the Democrat Party at the time. But he was talking about higher taxes and more regulations and taking over healthcare, right? That was his big deal. But in the middle of that, we had just massive growth in technology. We had the operating system and the internet, and then of course Trump or Clinton at the time said, "Well, it's the economy, stupid," and some of that is true, right? So, what do we not develop? What do we not do? What do we not? What do we get? Do we get a flying car tomorrow? I mean, the Dow's doubled if we get a flying car, right? So, I would just say as an investor, you need to be patient. And that's where I think all of our models have always been very disciplined and patient. And if the stock market continues to go here, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to rebalance and take profits. And when that day comes where stuff starts to rain again and we get those, I call them brain freezes, where the market goes down, we're going to buy into it. And but I do think it's a good day for America. I think it's a good day for freedom. I think it's a good day for economics. I think it's a good day for the world.
I agree. I think people, as I said on the podcast we did on Election Day, people vote in their own personal economic self-interest. That is clear, and that has been clear forever, right? You can have different beliefs on different things, but at the end of the day, as Mike just said, I think it was Clinton that said it's the economy, stupid, and it is. Yeah. I mean, you can't hide from that. We talked about that on the podcast. They can lie to you if you're in a gated community or you're living in a posh suburb that crime is down when everybody else knows it's really not. But if you're in that bubble, right, you believe that stuff. But you can't gaslight the grocery store. You can't gaslight the gas pumps. No matter what party you're in or what the CNN tells you, that prices have gone up. And it's pinching people in their households. So people, I think, voted primarily for that. The second thing I think was a surprise to me was the minority, especially the Hispanic community, coming out huge for President Trump. I think that was a big miscalculation by the Democrat Party, the fear mongering of he's going to deport everybody. I think the legal immigrants that are like, great,
Good.
like, get a, you know, like it was hard for me to get here. I went through the process to get here. I waited in a line to get here. It took me 5 years to get here, and I had to have a green card and then, you know, gainful employment and all the things I have to do. And I'm proud of that citizenship. Don't soil that accomplishment by letting the doors wide open, anybody come in. And you saw 50+% of Hispanic men broke for Trump. 37% of Hispanic women went for Trump. That is a huge number. And I think that is a very telling thing that, and a strong message to the broader Republican Party, you know, start courting more of these people. There's no reason it shouldn't be 80-20 the other way. There's no reason why 80% of black men shouldn't be voting for the Republican Party as opposed to 20. Remember, Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican. Somehow the media narrative was able to flip that script. If you go back in history, every single civil rights bill, every one of them was passed by Republicans. Not one was passed by Democrats. And I hope that the Republican Party gets that messaging more out there going forward. Now, when it comes to the economy and the stock market, I'm going to stick with my theme. I think now, can President Trump do some, huge things, right? Can he do some, earth-shattering, country-changing legislation? Yeah, he can. He can do things, and he's talked about big ideas like eliminating the tax code, like getting rid of the income tax. You might say, oh, it's crazy. No, it's not, right? When Reagan came into office in 1980 and started to work on his tax reform bill, people said the same thing with him. Oh, my God, you can't get rid of all these deductions. You can't get rid of, people were deducting credit card interest and all these things. Oh, my God, you can't have that kind of overhaul, but he did it. You can't get rid of pensions to create 401ks, but he did. Right. I mean, and what happened because of that? The Dow went from 1,000 to 10,000, right? Imagine the possibilities. We're at Dow 40,000. Can we have Dow 400,000 someday? If we can unleash the innovation of the American people, right? If we can look at half of our income goes to the government now. Half. Imagine if they cut that part in half. So only 25% of our income went to the government. What could we all do with that other 25%, right? Well, let me finish. My theme has been AI, right? The government being and the party in power being less important than technology, and I will stick with that. However, if you can put government along with that technology, and when I say along with it, I mean just get it out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Get it out of the way and let it flourish. Let Elon do his thing as opposed to taking longer, as he put it, to move a paper from one desk to another than it does to build a rocket ship. Then boy, oh boy, we unleash flying cars are absolutely reality. Yeah. A lot of other things as well.
So. The market, at least in the short term, Drew, is pricing in that hopefully we can go back to what Glenn was talking about, which was Reaganomics. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the country, we were growing at 6, 7, 8, 9%, right? Mm-hmm. Those were real numbers. When you look at Obama, even under Trump, we were happy to get 2.5, right? And you look back historically and say, wait a minute, there was better days in America. We were growing faster from an economic standpoint. Stock market's telling us, at least in the short term, that they expect the Republican Party to get the hell out of the way and allow free market capitalism to roll. And by the way, that's the way you fix pricing too. It's lower energy prices. It's more competition, right? You get more people making widgets. I assure you that it goes from, hey, I can sell this widget for $9. I can sell it for $8.50. I can sell it for $8, right? And Reagan proved it. They said you can't get rid of inflation. Mm-hmm. Inflation was at 19% mortgages. You can't do that. Oh, yes, I can. It's called free market capitalism. It's called competition. Mm-hmm. And at least in the short term, the stock market is pricing in that they think Trump can accomplish some of this stuff. We'll see.
We'll see. I hope if we can get back to that high growth rates, we need to, because if he brings in Elon to really downsize the government like we need to, that will in of itself cause a recession, which is not a bad thing. I think that kind of reset to allow the government to downsize and right size would be so huge in the future. It's one step back, 50 steps forward. But if you can get the economy roaring, we said that in his first term. Like, man, the economy is now 4.5%. Start cutting government workers, right? Because if you're going to eliminate like the education department, which they need to, That's like multi-millions of jobs. I don't know what any of these people do, but literally in the education department alone in Washington, millions of people work in that department. Millions. You eliminate the department, millions are immediately on the unemployment rolls, which needs to happen. I mean, they need to be, you know.
Another Seinfeld. George, we got to let you go.
George, I didn't really work here.
Or no, it's Kramer. I don't even work, and that's what makes it so hard, Kramer. I'll let you go. I know. That's what, I don't even work here. So it makes it so difficult.
Well, guys, listen, obviously you two are fired up and it's great to see you. We had some great results last night. But I don't want to, these are some great ideas that you're talking about, some great points that you're hitting on. But I do want to let the audience know that we're going to have a much more in-depth call next week with the rest of the investment committee to really kind of dive into what this election means for us and what we're going to look at doing going forward. But while I do have the two of you here, and I know we don't have the entire investment committee, but I want to get your thoughts, on what this outcome, what the effect is going to be on you two and the rest of the investment committee and the management of the strategies of the firm going forward.
Well, I'll start off by saying I think we'll be a lot happier. I mean, I got a smile on my face this morning. Reality is, by the way, is our disciplines are not going to change. And what I mean by that is too many times people will put politics in the short term in front of good, solid investment strategies. And I can take you back to Obama when a lot of our clients were freaking out saying, oh my gosh, the stock market's going to get hammered. And that was not the case. There was certain parts of the market that did better, and there was certain parts of the market that lagged, right? To Glenn's point, hey, look at if you're investing in companies that are just dependent on government contracts, that might be something we need to look at, right? Because maybe they're not going to get these government contracts. But when you're looking at specifically things like technology and AI technology, and now you've got a company that says, look, at least over the next 4 years, I think they're at least going to leave me alone, right? That's a big deal. That is a huge deal. And so it's about, where you're positioning yourself. It comes back to making sure you're diversified. And I don't care who's in office. You have to make subtle adjustments along the way. And that's what our portfolios will do. If this stock market continues to run, we're going to slightly sell into it. Not going to make huge wholesale changes. At some point, the market will correct itself. And you need to make sure that you're taking advantage of things in the good times and putting powder on the side so you can take advantage of the pullbacks. And so our discipline isn't going to change that much. Yes, we may start to look at, especially in some of our stock models, we're going to try to figure out the stocks that are going to take a thematic approach to investing and what themes are going to work, but the discipline will still be the same. And that's really, really important on both sides. If Camilla won yesterday, I would not be happy this morning. But I wouldn't say sell the market, right? Because you don't know. You just don't know. Joe Biden ran on the platform of changing the Trump tax code. Guess how much the taxes have changed? 0, right? So if you would have freaked out and said, well, I'm going to sell stocks in the beginning of Biden because he's going to change the taxes, you would have been wrong. Now, if you would have said, I'm going to buy guns because he's going to let, Venezuelan gang members in, well, you would have been right about that. So.
Right. I agree with Mike. Our strategy won't change, right? So as I said before, our all-cap model has a theme of AI, and that theme is solid. Again, even if Kamala wins, we're still investing in the exact same stocks. I still have NVIDIA. I still have Shopify. We still have Amazon. We're still holding Microsoft. And we still have, these bellwether techs along with new techs like ARM Holding and things like that. So our theme will stay the same. Our portfolio management will stay the same. One of the things I will say, and this is, again, going back to, it's funny because, in this kind of environment, I think everybody asks me, well, politics is so important. I think the politics and the policy is less important than the technology right now. I've said this repeatedly for multiple years. When you look at what Elon is doing, we're talking about having completely autonomous robots for 30 grand in the next 24 months. I mean, you're talking about something that can wash your dishes, mow your lawn, do the housework, do the laundry. I mean, this is craziness. We're talking about the Jetsons, so futuristic. And so you remember back to the 90s, right? Go back to the 80s, right? If you're old enough, right? You couldn't move data, right? You couldn't move data. You couldn't send a file to somebody unless you had either an overnight package next day. If you wanted it same day, you had these key people on bikes and cars that would do a courier service to pick it up at your office and take it wherever it needed to be within a drive of that particular day, right? Then we had faxes, limited data, right? You could send black and white paper, right? It's all you could really do, right? But as technology improved with the web throughout the 90s, suddenly we're able to now transfer videos, complete files, right? We're able to do business with each other, right? Dealerships that are auto dealerships can go online and order the parts they need for their inventory. I mean, the transformative change of the internet and the ability for businesses to go business to business and business to consumer. Amazon, I mean, think about how Amazon does what, 50+% of all the retail sales in the world right now? They wouldn't even exist in the 90s, right? So you think about how nice is that? You didn't have an Amazon to go to order something. You had to go to a grocery store or had to go to a department store or a toy store. I mean, if you think about your life, it'd be prior to 1995 versus post 1995, it was vastly different. Now put yourself in 2024, right? Now we're here at the cusp of AI. And when you think about AI, it's not just robots and flying cars and rocket ships. It's real world business applications that help companies drive productivity. Now, I'll give you a specific example. For Independent Solutions, or RIA, we have a file system that we're changing from an outsourced company. We're bringing it in-house as technology has improved, helps to lower our costs, right? Could go to an Amazon Glacier. The downside is it's a pretty labor-intensive process to move thousands of files from one database to another database. Somebody's got to literally go in, pull the file out, and refile it over there in an electronic format. So we hired a dedicated employee with the expectation it would take 12 to 24 months. Well, last month, somebody released an AI program that now has the ability to read the documents. You can train the thing. And our expectation is those document transfers will probably be done by the end of this year, right? So that now frees up either capital, if we let that employee go, that we can deploy somewhere else, or more likely, we'll keep that employee because we like our employees, and we'll reallocate their labor towards a more productive task. Maybe they go to account opening. Maybe they go to customer service. Maybe they go to business development. I don't know, right? But they're not doing file movement anymore. A robot's doing that. So you have applications from, we've been using AI to write a lot of our commercials. I mean, we're finance people. We're not great writers, right? But the computer is, right? So we've been doing that for some time. So the real world applications, I can see some of it, but I'm not even things that will change and the abilities that we'll have from a processing, research, data, all of that is probably more so than I'm even envisioning. And I'm really excited about that. And I think that will overshadow all of the politics, to be honest. Now, if you can couple good policy with that, boy, hot dog, here we go, right? And that's what I'm looking forward to.
There's definitely one part of this, Drew, though, that I don't think we put enough attention on. And that is, and we've been talking about this forever, but it sort of gets, I don't think people realize it, and that's safety, right? And you do not have economic prosperity if you do not have safety. I don't care where you are in the world or in the country. The three of us are in different parts of the country right now. We've got Florida, we've got Buffalo, and we've got Houston. I don't exactly know Houston. I know it a little bit, but I know that there's good parts of Houston and there's bad parts of Houston. And those bad parts of Houston are the places where the gangs hang out and the drug dealers. And I can tell you that if I was to fly in there tomorrow because Glenn and Drew say we want another office here, we wouldn't buy in the bad part of town. And we could get it cheap, right? And on a local level, it makes sense. Like, and I say our office here, we spent $2 million plus, and literally we could have bought the same office for $50,000, a stone's throw away in the east side of Buffalo. But we didn't do that because of safety. And the futures markets are up right now, number one in my mind, because of safety. What we said to the world and we said to the country is we're no longer a shithole dumping ground for crap people. And we're going to protect the American people, which means that you can go into your business tomorrow and feel confident that nobody's going to break the doors down, right? And you don't think like that, but you do. And I certainly didn't think, and Glenn didn't think when we were looking for an office space, hey, we should talk about safety. You just do it. Like, oh, that office is in Amherst, New York. It's $2 million. Okay, let's look at it. We didn't even circle the east side of Buffalo. Didn't even come up, right? And I think we're not talking enough about that, but safety is key. And voting in, this is the first time I'm 50, and for 50 years, here's what I've heard. This is the most important election of our lifetime. Oh my gosh, right? The world is going to end. And I, for the first, I called BS a lot, like over the last bunch of years, like, okay, look at it. It was true because of safety. We've never had over my 50 years a president or leadership say, hey, we don't really give a crap if you're a Venezuelan drug dealer and you just got out of prison. We would like to have you here in our community. Oh, you've got 23 murders under your belt? Come on, walk over the border. Just make sure you get your Obama phone. We've never had that before, right? And so to me, this was a big deal. It was all about safety last night, and it was about ending the crap. We're not the dumping ground for the world. We want the best, and we're going back to making America great again. That's my political speech, by the way, if you guys want to vote for me next time.
No, that was awesome. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time just to provide some feedback, some insight and your thoughts after an historic win last night. We just wanted to give our advisors and clients just an idea of kind of what we were thinking after we saw what we saw last night. And again, we're going to have a much more in-depth conversation next week with the rest of the investment committee about what it looks like after this election going forward. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. Everyone that is on the call today, we truly appreciate the opportunity to serve you for your investment needs. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Update and Markets Call.